In the voyage home, there exists a truly enigmatic machine, a mysterious object of great power, yet either incapable or unwilling to communicate with humanity or any alien species. It speaks exclusively to another Earth race, the humpback whale.
Whales, Mr. Scott, whales.
Naturally, there are many possibilities for who could have sent the so-called whale probe to Earth. Perhaps it was another race of whale-like creatures, or maybe it was some species that visited Earth long ago before the dawn of man. All we know for sure is that the probe is able to communicate via whale song, and that humpback whales can communicate back. But I have my own theory on the nature of the probe's creators. I posit that the probe was made by a splinter species of humpback whales that left Earth millions of years ago. Now I know what you're thinking, Ryan, that's crazy. How could whales possibly have left the planet? They couldn't have built spaceships with their giant flippers, they're just whales. And even if they did, there would be some kind of evidence of an advanced civilization. To you I say, have you heard about the hadrosaur? You see, in Voyager, we learned that the Voth species originally came from Earth. They were a species of dinosaur that survived the mass extinction event. They went on to evolve into an intelligent race, develop a civilization, and eventually leave the planet. No evidence of their accomplishments remained on Earth by the time humanity evolved. That mass extinction was about 66 million years ago. It's unclear what the timeline of the hadrosaur was after that event, but it's probably safe to say that it set them back a bit. It could well have taken them millions of years more to finally reach their own space age. Now, humpback whales are also an ancient species, potentially 40 million years old. Conveniently, this lines up rather well with the long evolution time of the post-asteroid Voth hadrosaurs. I believe that when the ancient Voth left Earth, they took some number of humpback whales with them. Maybe they saw potential in the species, maybe humpbacks were already intelligent, maybe the Voth just really like whales, we may never know. But it's clear that they took the whales with them into the far reaches of space. As the Voth did, the whales would also need to evolve to deal with their dramatically different environment. Perhaps they learned to exist in zero gravity. Perhaps they eventually changed to no longer need to live in water, a change forced on them by the limited water available to the Voth generation ships. Perhaps, my friends, they eventually evolved into the Gormaganders.
What's a gormagander?
It's a space whale.
Well, that explains it.
That's right, the space whales. The name is not given idly. History may have forgotten their origins, but the resemblance to their ocean-dwelling relatives makes their nature clear. Now, I think you would agree that all of this so far can be considered absolutely factual, no question whatsoever. But from here, we are going to need to get into a little bit of speculation. And my speculation is that the whale probe is old, even ancient. In the voyage home, it appears to be traveling sub-light at all times. If that's the case, and the probe came from the general area where the Voth and their whale friends end up settling in the Delta Quadrant, it could potentially have taken hundreds of thousands of years to reach Earth. Plenty of time for something to happen to the Gormagander species. By the time we meet our first and only space whale in Discovery, they're nearly extinct and spend their entire lives gliding through space with seemingly no motivation. But is there a method to the mindlessness? What if instead of simply drifting, the Gormaganders are meditating? It's believed in the Star Trek universe that deep meditation is one path toward enlightenment, and the transition away from the corporeal and into becoming a being of pure energy. I hypothesize that Gormaganders are nearly extinct not because they simply died out, but because the vast majority of the species ascended millennia ago. Like a frankly surprising number of species in Star Trek, nearly all Gormaganders have achieved a state of consciousness inaccessible to most humans and transcended the physical plane. And what of the Gormaganders left behind? They haven't ascended because they are not on the true path to ascension. In Lower Decks, it's only after O'Connor gives up trying to ascend through meditation that he actually does ascend. These remaining space whales are desperately trying to follow their old friends, and that obsession is holding them back. But I'm getting a bit off track here. To sum up so far, dinosaurs and whales go into space. Those whales evolve into intelligent space whales. The space whales ascend into beings of pure energy, and somewhere in there, a whale probe was constructed and sent on its way to Earth. I believe that the probe was constructed just prior to their ascension millennia ago, and was sent to Earth to tell their ocean-dwelling relatives their long and storied history, and perhaps even tell them about the path to ascension. The future will tell if the humpback whales of Earth are ever able to follow their space-faring brethren. But we're not done yet. What are the energy being whales doing all these years later? Are they just hanging around watching the universe unfold? Are they no longer existing in linear time at all? I think I might know the answer. The energy whales are the Q. Think about it, when Q first interacts with humanity, he doesn't take on human form. Everything characters perceive of the Q and the Q continuum is simply their perception filtering things they can't understand. Q can appear as any kind of entity he wants.
I could have chosen to exist as a Markovian sea lizard, or a Belzoidian flea. Anything I wished.
This explains Q's initial animosity toward humans. The Q continuum is resentful of the way that humans treated the humpback whales back on Earth, hunting them to extinction. To their minds, humanity is a dangerous and savage child race, nowhere near the enlightenment they achieved so long ago. It's only after Picard demonstrates how humans now treat a space-dwelling alien that also looks suspiciously like it came from Earth's oceans that Q begins to soften to them. He would undoubtedly also have become aware of cetacean ops on the Enterprise, another example of how humanity has come to appreciate aquatics. There exists only a single point of contrary evidence to this theory, and it comes in the series finale of The Next Generation. In All Good Things, the anti-time anomaly that's created in the Devron system is intended to disrupt the beginnings of life on the primordial Earth, thus preventing the rise of humanity. But if the origins of life were disrupted, this would also necessarily eliminate both the Delta Quadrant Voth and the Q whales themselves. Not to mention all the other species on Earth, even intelligent ones. The trial was meant to judge humans, and only humans. I don't believe that the Q would conspire to eliminate not only all life on Earth, but life on the other side of the galaxy. And the anomaly is clearly not limited to the Sol system. It originates in the Federation Romulan neutral zone and would affect countless light years of space. Vulcans, Andorians, Tellarites, Romulans, and many more species would have been severely impacted by the event. And so, I believe that none of what Picard experiences in dealing with the anomaly was real. It was all simply another test for him, one which he thankfully passed. If he'd failed, then perhaps the Q would have erased humanity, but only humanity. The Q would never threaten their own origins, and so they cannot threaten Earth itself. Because, as I believe I have proven here, the Q are simply a race of whales that escaped Earth with the dinosaurs millions of years ago and have since evolved into a higher plane of existence.